Ladies and gentlemen, I am the RebelCroconaw, and welcome to my brand new Pokemon channel. Here I'll be focusing on Pokemon battles, theory, gameplay, comparisons, etc. And speaking of comparisons, I'd like to introduce you to my first ever show, This or That, where I'll be taking two Pokemon that you may have considered putting on your team and talking about the pros and cons of each. For example, let's say you need a water type. Do you go with Tentacruel or Blastoise, Lapras or Starmie? I'm not here to tell you which one to choose, that's up to you. I'm just here to make your decision a little easier by giving you the facts. For the time being, I'm going to primarily focus on the original 151 in the first generation of games, Red, Blue, and Yellow. And for this first episode, I'm going to focus on the Pokemon that will get you around the land of Kanto faster than you can say gotta catch 'em all. Your flyer. And what better comparison than the final forms of the early birds of Kanto, Pidgeot and Fearow. Type-wise, both Pidgeot and Fearow are normal flying-type Pokemon, leaving them both weak to Ice, Electric, and Rock-type moves, while also giving them the advantage against Grass, Bug, and Fighting types. So as far as typing goes, no real advantage to pick one over the other. So let's look at stats. First up we have Pidgeot. The first Pokemon you ever caught, aside from your starter, was probably a Pidgey. And assuming you kept that little guy on your team to level 16 to become a Pidgeotto, and then all the way to level 36, you got a Pidgeot. Now because we're focusing on Gen 1, we will not be covering Mega Pidgeot. Looking at its stats, Pidgeot has an HP of 83, an attack of 80, a defense of 75, a special of 70, and a speed of 91, leaving it with a stat total of 469. So stat-wise, Pidgeot is right smack dab in the middle of the road virtually across the board. Nothing bad, but nothing great, with some decent speed to bring up the rear. Jumping a bit ahead, we run into Spearow, which evolves into Fearow at level 20. Now, much like in the anime, Spearows are mean, aggressive little buggers, and Fearow's stats showcase that. Fearow has an HP of 65, an attack of 90, a defense of 65, a special of 61, and a speed of 100, leaving it with a stat total of 442, as opposed to Pidgeot's 469. So, Fearow is a much frailer bird who can't take a hit nearly as well as Pidgeot, with its lower defense and considerably lower HP, but Fearow has the attack advantage, and more importantly, speed. Now is a good time to bring up one of the many reasons why Gen 1 is broken as all hell. Speed. Speed is everything in Gen 1 because rather than having a set ratio as they do in later games, critical hits were based entirely on speed. The simplified equation for a critical hit in Red, Blue, and Yellow was the Pokemon's base speed times 100 divided by 512. So a Pokemon with 100 base speed, such as Fearow, would have a 19.53 chance of landing a critical hit off of a standard move, as opposed to Pidgeot's 17.77%. So although Pidgeot could last longer in a fight, Fearow hits harder and faster, being outsped by only 13 other fully evolved Pokemon, with an almost 20% chance of a critical hit off of a standard move. This may or may not be the reason my red team has both a Dugtrio and a Jolteon, as well as a Fearow. Fearow is very much the best defense is a good offense bird. Can't be knocked out by an opponent if you knock them out first. Looking at their TM and HM moveset, Pidgeot and Fearow share almost the exact same set of TM and HM moves. Razor Wind, Whirlwind, Double Edge, Hyper Beam, Mimic, Double Team, Swift, Sky Attack, Substitute, and of course Fly, with the only real difference being Pidgeot able to learn Reflect, which in Generation 1 only boosts the defense of the user as opposed to the team, but lasts the entire battle as opposed to 5 turns. But looking at their natural level up moves, you can definitely see a difference. Pidgeot learns a lot of setup moves such as Sand Attack, Whirlwind, and Agility, with no real power moves, the most powerful being Wing Attack, which in Generation 1 is only a base 35 attack, and its first natural stab flying move, which it doesn't even learn until level 31. The only real attack Pidgeot learns naturally is Mirror Move, which copies your opponent's last move, which can add a sense of randomness that may or may not work out in your favor. Now this is a good time to bring up that in Generation 1, once you use up a TM, that was usually it. You don't ever get it back, with only a few exceptions that you can buy at other stores. With moves such as Reflect, Agility, Sand Attack, and Whirlwind, Pidgeot is definitely a setup Pokemon that relies on the team he's on and the TMs that he's given. He may not get the job done himself without a little help, but will definitely help support the rest of his team. Fearow is the opposite. Fearow is a strong independent bird who don't need no team. Looking at Fearow's level up moveset, Fearow follows up its high speed and attack with more aggressive tactics. Peck as opposed to Gust, giving it a stab flying type move from very early on, Fury attack, Leer to lower defenses, and much like Pidgeot, Mirror move. However, once Fearow hits level 34, he gains the ultimate game changer, Drill Peck. A super powerful 80 base power, 100% accurate, 20 power point flying type stab attack that makes Fearow the all-out aggressor that he is. With the high chance of hitting first, again being outsped by only 13 other fully evolved Pokemon, and a close to 20% chance of a critical hit, an 80 base stab move on a 90 base attack Pokemon is definitely something to fear, truly giving Fearow its namesake. So at the end of the day, Pidgeot and Fearow are two very similar birds with two very different styles of play. So which will it be for your playthrough? The bulkier setup, team-based, TM-reliant Pidgeot, or the naturally aggressive, hard-hitting but fragile Fearow? Will it be this, or that? Hey there guys, if you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a comment to let me know which two Pokemon you'd like to see compared for next time. I definitely have a few in mind that I'd like to do, but let me know which ones you'd like to see. And before anyone requests it, I am going to do Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur. Eventually. I just want to keep it 2 at a time for the time being, and preferably similar types. Thanks a lot, and I will see you guys next time.